I feel like it's a dawning awareness now that we are at a huge turning point in our planet's life. I mean, we don't need the stars really to see that part because we can see how many of our old paradigms are collapsing. They're just inadequate to the challenges that we face. We can see that we don't have a framework that honors both the sanctity of the individual human being and at the same time the importance of that we all live here together on this one
Mm.
small planet.
Welcome to my podcast, Spiritual Quest, with me, your host, Vibeke Garnos, always guided by Spirit. I am very excited to share my gift with you and empower you to embrace your gift. So if you define yourself as a spiritual human being, then you've come to the right place. So prepare yourself now for an amazing journey where your soul will lead the way. Hello and welcome to the Spiritual Quest podcast. Have you ever looked up at the stars, stargazing, and felt a longing or deep connection to certain star constellations or planets? Well, I can remember as a young girl sleeping out under the stars, soaking up the beauty and feeling the power of the stars, not knowing why this gave me peace of mind and a renewed sense of energy. Now I have a deeper understanding of why I was so mesmerized, and with the guidance of my spiritual team telling me how the souls choose to enter this realm at a specific time when the stars and planets are aligned to allow our power to shine in support of our human experience, I've come to embrace my connection with my personal star in the universe, and I can feel it when the cosmic energy activates my star map and start communicating through planetary shifts. But I haven't fully embraced it from a human perspective through my birth chart. You might already know that astrology is the oldest way of understanding the reality on Earth. Every human culture has watched the skies and connected what they saw to life on Earth. And today's guest has studied this ancient practice for 41 years, with a full time practice for 12 years, serving clients from all over the world. Marcia Wade is the founder of Star Sister Astrology, with a special interest in astrology as a navigational tool for these times of massive change and the role cosmic cycles of renewal play in our supporting the regeneration of our lives and our world. When Marcia had her birth chart read for the first time, she was hooked immediately, deeply, and forever. What compelled her was seeing her story as part of a bigger one, a story stretched across the universe and throughout time, just like yours does. So, in this episode, we're exploring cosmic power through astrology with guidance from Star Sister Energy, represented by Marcia Wade. It's my pleasure to welcome Marcia to the Spiritual Quest podcast. Hello and welcome, Marcia.
Thank you, Vipika. It's so great to be here.
Thank you so much for accepting my invitation, and I'm very, very honored and really looking forward to what you can share about your passion for astrology. So, for the listeners and people watching, let's start about let's talk a little bit about how you discovered astrology and how it helped you reawaken to your authentic power.
Well, so it was, I mean, really, I think it was destiny, but it was also paradoxical. And often, more and more, I realize it's really paradox that kind of holds the universe together in a very special way. This that one thing and also its opposite thing can also be true. So, how did I discover astrology? My graduate school advisor came bursting into my office. I was a research associate in a women's studies program at a university here in the US. She came bursting in one Monday morning and she was like, Marcia, you have got to do what I did this weekend. She'd gone to a nearby city where I now live and had her astrology chart read. I'm Aquarius rising. That's the sign of astrology. How I ever got to be 29 years old without knowing a thing about astrology, I don't know. But I didn't know anything about it. But when I was sitting there having my chart read, it was almost like I could feel the click, 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 click. It just made total sense to me. I was hooked from that moment. Um, and, academia and our science has gotten very far from in most of the universities, people who are trained there are part of the training is to think, oh, astrology, that's just a bunch of superstition. But
Mm-hmm.
in fact, the first astronomers were also the first astrologers long ago. In fact, really only until a few hundred years ago, we didn't divide everything up as disconnected and unrelated. So it was natural to look at something and think, what does this mean? And that's what astrology really is. What does it mean that we were born with a unique relationship to the universe? Because that's what this birth chart is. At the moment that you took your first breath, the whole idea behind astrology is that at that moment of ultimate receptivity, it's the first breath you've ever taken in. With that first breath, you're also taking in energy, which is information. I mean, the whole universe is made of energy. And some of the information you're taking in with that first breath is about the patterns in the universe around you. How is the sun relating to the moon at that moment that your life began? The sun and the moon are the most important things in our solar system on planet Earth. Without the sun, our planet would just wander out into the universe. It would have no source of energy or power. We literally eat the light of the sun to stay alive, thanks to that miracle of photosynthesis. So, where the sun is when you're born, and at that first, is very important. At that first breath, you're connecting your heart with the heart of our solar system. And for instance, when you were born, the sun had just risen very shortly before your birth. So the sun was just above the horizon in the sign of Scorpio. That's one of the most mysterious signs in the whole zodiac. Scorpio is the energy that flows beneath the surface. It's powerful, deep water energy. Water, in fact, Vipika, is the strongest element in your birth chart. You have more planets in water signs than any other element. And water is the most cosmic of all elements. Water has been present in the universe since very early in its life. We found water everywhere in the universe. So, when water is your strongest element, that means you have a very deep cosmic intelligence. Water, this water that flows through the universe, is receptive. And Scorpio so receptive. You can you feel things to your depths.
Mm.
And when you walk into a room, that deep water energy that you carry in your heart, it's almost like a laser. When you walk into a room, you can sense something's not right here. If someone is out of integrity, you can feel it. Probably when you were young, you would not know if that was you were feeling something about yourself, or about others in the room. It takes a while to kind of really grow into the power of your receptivity and of your intuition. But you can sense what's hidden. You can sense what's unspoken. You can sense where the power is. And when I say power, I don't mean the way we've come to think of it, forcing, making something happen. I think of the power that is within everything that's alive, within every single atom, the power to transform. And you not only have the sun in Scorpio, but the sign that was coming up over the horizon as you took your first breath was Scorpio. Your sun is in 2 degrees of Scorpio. So, Scorpio and your ascendant, that rising point, your personal dawn point, is in 8 degrees of Scorpio. There's 30 degrees in every sign. So, you are a double Scorpio, Scorpio rising, Scorpio sun in the early potent degrees of Scorpio. Scorpio is not here just for a joyride. Scorpio is here to transform, to be a force for transformation for your own life and for the lives of others. In fact, if you looked at your birth chart, you would see it looks like a big circle as a line going right through the middle. That's the horizon line because the birth chart is a literal map of our earth, but it's also a symbolic map of the energy patterns, the way you embody the cosmos. So there's a line going right through the middle. And then there's a line going top to bottom vertically. That's your orientation to the great mystery of the universe, the great mystery that brought you into this life. And then, so you see this cross in the center of every birth chart. And you were all the 4 points at the end of the cross are the power points in your life. On the horizontal axis where the sun rose, that's your point of becoming. When we say you're Scorpio rising, it means you came here to become Scorpio, to become the power in the depths of everything that lives, and to awaken it to transform yourself, others, and our world. The vertical axis, the point at the top of that axis, is your vocation point. It's the high point in the sky. And you have the sign of the sun, Leo, on your vocation point. And that means that your Scorpio heart, your Scorpio star power is guiding your calling. If you looked at the birth chart, you would see it looks like this circle with the cross in it is divided into little wedges, like pieces of a pie. There are 12 of these sections in every birth chart. They're called houses, and each one carries the energy of a special part, a different part of your life. Your sun is in the most hidden and mysterious part of every birth chart. It's called the 12th house. It's the place where you go to connect, to renew your spirit, to connect with spiritual guidance. Um, your podcast, Spiritual Quest, the perfect name for someone whose star power really shines brightest of all. It's like the temple within you. And people who have a signature and emphasis on the 12th house, and the sun is the power source of your whole life. These people, and you are one, are said to be, excuse me, the world servers. This energy that you tap into in the 12th house, it is way too big for your life to be only about you, only about what you want, only about who the people who you care most about. That's not why you're here. You're here in service not only to the world, but to the life of the universe that our world is part of. So
Marcia, I'm
if
sorry. I can I share something because
please,
I'm really tuning into what you're saying, and your words and the energy of what you're sharing is reaching the depths of me, and it's like a reawakening to what my spirit guide Azarius has always been sharing with me. And I wanted to, for the people listening as well, like I said when I introduced this podcast, my spiritual team has always told me about why or how the souls and how important when we choose to come into this earthly experience and when we choose to be born, it's really well out planned, if you wish. And when you're talking about this, I can see my star map because I've had a vision of my star map standing next to my spiritual team in the universe, having this image of a star map explaining to me my soul's journey throughout time and space, but also outside time and space. And I could see the galaxies and everything. And I could see the lines that were. So when you were describing the circle with and how the birth chart is how you read it here on Earth, it resembles what I saw on the other side.
wow, that is
So
really
I'm getting goosebumps of because I've seen it or embraced it from their point of view, but I never understood a birth chart. It's not like I never understood it. I never took the time to get a birth chart done for me. So I feel really blessed that you're sharing this with me, Marcia. And it's strange because I've always said that water is my element. I had no clue. I decided when I was a girl, I told my mother that I would live by the water. I had to stay next to the water, and I'm living by the water. I have ocean view. I have to be next to water. That gives me peace of mind. It gives me clarity. It renews my energy. And I have the beautiful starry heavens above. I live in Norway. We have clear skies. I can see the stars every night when there's clear skies. And so, whatever you're expressing now from that deeper knowledge of astrology, it is just a reconfirming or reawakening to something deep within me. So I can feel already now an acknowledgement and a shift going on energy wise. And I just wanted to share that with everyone listening that when this is my first reading, if you wish, a birth chart reading, and it's not even full, but as you're sharing, Marcia, I think this for people who's interested in not knowing what astrology can do for you, I think I think this is what you need to do just to open yourself up for that gift of understanding yourself a little bit better. So I just
absolutely.
wanted to share that part of my experience of what you're sharing now because it's very, very powerful.
It's so beautiful that you had that experience. So for you, what I think happens on some level for everyone who has their birth chart read, it's not that part of the power is that much of the information is not new, it's confirming something that's very deep within. And there is definitely, it's the power of being seen, not only by the astrology, but much more importantly, of realizing how deeply you're seen by the universe and letting yourself see yourself through these cosmic eyes. Um,
Yes,
and
and yeah,
there's,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Marcia.
well, I was just going to say, there's very little else that gives us that objective confirmation that astrology does of something we have felt on the intuitive level. Sometimes felt it so deeply, yet been afraid to. I've always felt this, but is it really true? Nobody else around me seems to feel this or see this or think this. Yeah, it's
And
very,
when you shared now that I have like a calling, if you wish, that I'm here for something greater. I've known that my whole life. That yes, I was going to have a family, but and I've been blessed, wisely chosen, a Leo in my life. Um, and he has been by my side and he has accepted me in my strangeness, if you wish. And we have two beautiful daughters, and we've been we've had a good union, or we have a good union, if you wish. And it's so important for me because of the work that I feel I'm here to do. And so
yeah.
spiritual quest, as you mentioned, it's not a coincidence that I've chosen to call this podcast, or giving that name to this podcast. It was, like I said, always guided by spirit. It is spirit who's letting me know, and I listen and I act upon what I intuitively feel, but also what is resonating within what is coming, and also resonating within different vibrations that happens when planetary shifts happen to move through my star map. And
Right.
so, talking about star maps, I'm looking from that from then my perspective. But how would you explain astrology used for like every day, like for people who want to live in alignment, if you wish? How can astrology be of service?
So there are many, many levels or layers to that answer. I'm going to give one very well. I'll give you several, but here's the most basic. For instance, when I tell you that water is your strongest element, that gives you some really important information about the importance of feeling to you. You know, water is the one element that can wear down all the others. We don't really value intuition and feeling in our culture as a whole now, but that's really kind of a short sightedness on our part because water can wear down earth, it can overpower fire, it can go into the air, it can turn into the air.
It can
So to
move mountains.
it can literally move mountains. So just the information about your strongest element or your strongest elements is important information about how to live your life. Water needs a container. Water needs a container so it doesn't just leak away. You know, you've seen like a torrential downpour can happen. We've been waiting for, if you maybe been waiting for rain for weeks, but if there's nothing to contain the water, it just leaks away. You know, it just, like an hour later, it's like, did it rain? It's all gone. So it's really important to have containers to hold your water so that when you need that water power, it's available to you. And typical in the earth, the container is like, think of a river, the banks of a river. Earth is the container. Grounded, being grounded and connected to the earth, and habits are containers. A container really is anything that holds energy. This podcast is a container, for the things that you value most deeply. And water is our values, are informed by water. It's the root of all our values, what we feel is most important. Now, you only have one planet in an earth sign. It's Venus, the love goddess, the planet who is closest to the earth. Many, many cultures have thought of Venus as Earth's sister. She's the power of who and why and what you love. So Venus is your one planet in an Earth sign. And so connecting with what you love and why you love it, that grounds you. That gives you a container for this water power. You have like waterfalls, oceans, rivers inside of you. And Venus helps you find the way to use that water power in service of life, in service of the world, in service of what you believe in. Now, so it's important to be aware. It can be really game changing to know how much water is activated at any given time in the universe. Right now, we are just moving out of a new moon field. We had a new moon on Friday, and on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of last week, all 9 of the planets that are closest to the Earth and the Sun, all the planets from the Sun, tiny little Mercury, all the way out to Neptune, all of them were in earth and water signs. We were in the most powerful yin energy field that has happened on this earth in 2,600 years. And we, in that field, the sun and the moon, aligned in the exact same degree of Taurus and created the seed of a new beginning. So we're talking just 3 days after this very powerful, it was a yin force, very close to the level of yin that you have in your own birth chart. So it's growing in all of us. Now, this new moon was in Taurus, which is the sign that's exactly across the sky from Scorpio. Every sign has it's like a completing sign on the other end, right across your chart. So this new moon in Taurus for you is asking you to nurture something earthy, something sensory, something not that runs deep beneath the surface, but something that can take root, bud, blossom, fruit, just like life itself. Something as powerful as your own watery being. So that's one way. The moon and all the planets are like clocks. And if we follow, you're just going to follow one thing happening in the skies. The most important thing would be to follow the new moons and the full moons. And if you know what signs they're happening in, and if you know what part of your birth chart you have that sign, then you have a lot of information about where you're being invited to create something new or to become something new at the new moon, and where at the full moon you're being asked to realign your life with this new thing that you're creating, that you're becoming. So that's one way. Another way that astrology can help us all is to give us a framework, a context for what is what are we being invited to become? Where are we being invited to step outside of our comfort zone and go to a new level of mastery? Where are we being invited to receive more wisdom and grace and to become more wise and grace giving? So astrology, as we follow, and this is what any astrologer will do in a reading. Look at where the cycles, the planets are in their cycles. Where is that happening in your birth chart? When was the last time that happened? What is the big cycle of becoming that you're getting ready for and completing? Does that
So
answer your
is
question?
yes, that I'm just thinking because I know certain communities on this planet use astrology to plan out um, when is the best times to get married, to have a meeting. Maybe in the India is the one I'm thinking of right now. But
Totally.
how would you well, would you recommend people to know their birth chart and to align or to have a clear um, vision of where to move forward, if you wish, in their lives based on the astrology? You said, like I've read about you, and you use this for navigational tools, right? So for helping people to regenerate their lives
Right.
and the world. So how can we do that?
As individuals.
Yes.
Well, so for anyone who really feels called to know more, reaching out to an astrologer and having your chart read, there's nothing else like it. There are many fantastic resources, classes, experiences, but the starting point is your own birth chart. So that's what I would recommend. Um,
Starting with your birth chart and then from there learning about your own planetary systems and then going from there and
Yes, and most astrologers will give you an introduction to that in your first reading. Now, there are different schools of astrology, and
yeah,
the Vedic system in India is perhaps, and there are some Western astrologers too who are more focused on just giving you the answers. But many, many astrologers now are helping you understand your birth chart even as they are answering your specific questions. Because really we come to our birth charts to understand ourselves better
yeah,
and also to understand life better, the universe
yes,
better. I mean, that's why they call it a wisdom tradition. And
I like
we're
that.
living in a time, I feel, when wise answers are very important, but wise questions are perhaps even more important.
Mm, that's well said. I agree with you. And it, even though I don't know a lot about astrology, I do feel like intuitively, that we all, if you've done that work seeking within to getting to know who you are, and then you do a birth chart reading, my feeling right at this moment is that your experience will really enhance your, how would you say that, your own power, so
Yes.
that you just get a clearer vision of your multidimensional self. And reading that birth chart, now I don't have a full birth chart. I understand that that is, a whole thing. But from what you can see, what more can you see from that when it comes to the soul's journey outside time and space? Can you read that from a birth chart?
What you can what I feel can be read from a birth chart is the soul's intention in this lifetime. And that in itself will tell you a lot about the soul's journey. You can also tell from the alignments of different planets in the birth chart with stars beyond our own solar system. That also can give a lot of information about um, the soul's orientation, the soul's trajectory, because where there are planets close to these powerful stars, we can surmise that there's a pre existing relationship with those stars and the wisdom they carry and the role they play in the universe. Just for one example, you have the planet Neptune way out at the edge of the main plane of our solar system. Um, Neptune is your pipeline to the oneness of the universe. Neptune connects you to things not in form, but in essence, to the soul level. And your Neptune is exactly conjunct one of four stars in our solar system that have long been known as the royal stars, because these stars, when they're aligned with planets, they give a power that we associate with royal. There's something royal about that planet's the way it lives in you. So when you and the royal star that your Neptune is conjunct is a huge red giant star, many, many, many times bigger than our sun. Our sun looks like the head of a pin. If you um, look at a picture that shows different stars, to scale, Aldebaran will be like a golf ball, and our sun will be like the head of a pin. That's how massive this star is. So your Neptune, your ability to receive information from across the room, from across the country, across the planet, across the solar system, across the universe, across timelines, that power in you every minute of your life is receiving energy. This mighty star whose name is Antares, excuse me. Aldebaran is its companion star. Antares, it's long been known as the star of the spirit warrior. So, this is a really powerful star, and it brings for you the imperative to live in integrity with your own truth. If you are in integrity with what is true for you, you don't need to worry about what's happening out there because this star can move m- mountain ranges. Water can move a mountain, but Antares can move mountain ranges. But if you fall out of integrity, if you misuse the power of this star, the fall from grace can be swift and devastating. It's like you live, it's a very high bar. And so we can look at your chart. That's just one thing that tells us, you know, not everyone is allowed to be born with a star alignment with Antares. Like if you weren't able to embody that energy, you would not have been able to have been born when you were born.
Wow.
Sometimes we are born with energy, and Antares is a lot of energy to hold. And sometimes there may have been times in your life when you feel, I just can't. It's I don't know how, when it feels beyond you. Most people who have these star alignments are aware of like a pressure that doesn't really come from you. It's
Mm.
like it's already been decided. It's non-negotiable. There's nothing you can do about it. And yet sometimes it can seem like it's also overwhelming. But you can always know. The fact that you have this alignment means you are ready.
Mm.
The fact that you are here with the alignment tells you you can do it. You have been entrusted by the universe to do it.
Wow. Thank you so much for that gift. That was incredible. And it's it resonates. And I'm so happy that you could see that. Sometimes it's difficult to explain, use human words, right? And
Yeah.
of how you're feeling, and people are, well, it's not, like you said, the integrity part. And it's like, I have to, like I said, if I don't, I just feel some things I feel like is black and white. I'm a very colorful person, but when it comes to my path in life, my
Yeah.
calling, I know what you're talking about when you're saying the height of falling from that height is not something I want to, because I do know and understand intuitively what that will entail. And so I did almost, well, I didn't, I tested it. Could I say I tested it not too long ago, like a year ago or so. And whatever I tried, it did not work because my path is set and the power is so strong. And a lot of people don't understand. So speaking to you
Right.
this way, it's kind of, it's reconfirming that, yeah, everything that I'm sensing, feeling, that some people do understand. And I'm so grateful that you're sharing this also, because it acknowledges my path. It's like, for me, I'm like, okay, so now I'm hearing it not only from myself and my spiritual team, I'm hearing it through my stars that you're gifting me by reading that. And I'm like, I don't need anything more. And as you're talking, I want to share with you, because I think that might, I want to hear your opinion on this. Um, my, I have a previous lifetime on a planet called Tresna. And Tresna is in the galaxy of Triangulum. Um, and this was, I did not know it was in Triangulum. That was confirmed by another reader. But I've known Tresna and I've written about Tresna. And what was special about Tresna was the power of purity. It was the purity of water, it was the purity of reading energy, it was seeing people for who they were and not using words, but seeing um,
Mm.
how pure everything was. And so I've always said since I was a child that I could see people, and I can see and sense immediately if you're being true to yourself. Not that you're trying to lie or deceive anybody, but if you're deceiving yourself, that you're not in alignment. It's so easy for me to see, and I'm so hard on myself sometimes when I fall off, when I don't feel like I'm in integrity with my essence. And so,
Mhm.
but I always, come back into that, and I have that understanding and that clarity. So my question, I guess, is knowing this about the cosmic being that I am, the cosmic power that we all carry, but since we're talking about my planets right now, so how can that assist? How can I use that power in a more, I already got that answer from you actually, because you following my path and being true to the power of the stars. So you actually, I'm getting clearer as I'm just rambling because I'm understanding it more clearly now, Marcia. So the stars is actually something I would love to get to know more about, so that the deeper knowledge that we all carry, I think we need it for the to assist this world in the coming years. What is your take on that?
On how the stars can assist us in this
Yeah.
world, I feel we've never needed the stars more
Mm, thank you.
because the stars tell us something I feel we all sense. But I feel like it's a dawning awareness now that we are at a huge turning point in our planet's life. I mean, we don't need the stars really to see that part because we can see how many of our old paradigms are collapsing. They're just inadequate to the challenges that we face. We can see that we don't have a framework that honors both the sanctity of the individual human being and at the same time the importance of that we all live here together on this one
Mm.
small planet. We need new paradigms, new forms of wisdom. And to me, the most profound guidance there is comes from the stars who are telling us, many people are aware that we are at the turning of an astrological age, which means we are moving out of one 2,600-year old consciousness era into a new one. We're moving into the age of Aquarius. But these shifts are even bigger. This shift into Aquarius is even more significant than just the turning of a 2,600-year age. And isn't it interesting? We just had a new moon in a field of 9 planets in the yin signs for the first time in 2,600 years, which means the last time a new moon was created in a field like we just experienced was the last time we had this turning of an age, which is a consciousness era. But we know because of the guidance of the stars, this turning is even bigger than that. One of the furthest planets from our sun, so distant that it takes her over 11,000 years to go all the way around the sun. Her name is Sedna. Sedna was conjunct that new moon last week. Her name comes, she is for the Inuit people who live near the Arctic, Sedna is the goddess of the sea. Now, there are many different variations of her mythology, but they all share one thing in common that Sedna, who was raised, as I feel we all are, on this planet at this time, no matter how loving our personal mothers were, we have become disconnected from the creatrix energy in the universe. And so, in some sense, we're all motherless daughters and sons. And Sedna was raised without a mother by a father who didn't really know or care that much about the needs of the young feminine. So her marriage turns out to be unhappy because she didn't really have good models for receiving and giving love growing up. And here's what so all the stories have that in common, although different circumstances, and they all end with Sedna fleeing to her father for refuge, clinging to his fishing boat, saying, "Please, please give me refuge." And they all end with Sedna's father picking up his knife and cutting off every single one of her fingers. He dismembered her. Our hands are our agency. Sedna's life was taken out of her hands but the story doesn't end with her dismemberment and her murder because she couldn't hold on to the boat. She couldn't swim. She sank to the bottom of the sea. But that is when her fingers became the sea lions, her thumbs became the whales, and Sedna herself transformed into the goddess of the life renewing magic of the sea. Now, this is a tale of shamanic dismemberment, which is very, very, very common in indigenous cultures throughout the world. That for the shaman to come into his or her spiritual gifts, the old form must be broken apart. And many people now in our world are going through a kind of shamanic dismemberment.
Mm.
I feel it's because we're now being asked to become a new kind of human, the
Yes.
kinds of humans who can live on this planet, this beautiful blue cosmic jewel in harmony with reverence for the planet, not dominating and poisoning and enslaving our planet. So I feel Sedna has much to teach us. She's really the shaman planet. And she's changing signs next month. On June 15th, Sedna is leaving the sign of Taurus, where she's been your whole life. She's been in Taurus since the late 60s. And for the first time in 11,000 years, she's entering the sign of Gemini, the sign of the messenger. She's going to be speaking to all of us
Wow.
in all the ways. So it's really interesting if we look back. So we know the last time Sedna made this passageway from one astrological sign. And these astrological signs, they're not ideas, they're actual fields of stars in the sky. So when we say Sedna is moving into Gemini, she's moving into a different part of the sky where different stars are going to be sending their energy to her. And she will embody that energy and guide us with it. So it's been 11,000 years since Sedna made this leap to Gemini, the sign of the messenger, the communicator. Well, it turns out 11,000 years ago, 11,400 to be exact, was a huge turning point from the archaeological evidence. There was a massive explosion in human settlement patterns, the kinds of tools we were creating, kinds of um, art we were creating. So there's something about the inner shaman in all of us that is ready to, we're ready to become new kinds of humans. And I think knowing that helps us see everything with different eyes and a different sense of what's really important now. Is it really so important to, you know, acquire this object or that? All the priorities that we've told really matter. Is that really what's most important? And all the uncertainty, you know, is it cause for fear or is it really cause for wonder
Mm.
and opening to the great mystery that we are part of? And do we need to learn more facts or do we really need to let ourselves open to the intelligence, the vast intelligence of our planet and our universe?
I love what you're saying and sharing, Marcia. It's wow, it's I don't know even if I can find the words. It's the truth. I can sense it. It is the truth for our future that you're talking about. And I'm so excited for these transformational times to come. And that
Yeah.
makes me also think, can you share before we end this session, what time periods should we be aware of? Like you now mentioned this planet that is moving or shifting into a new sign, but is there any other planets coming out now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these, this year and next year, are vitally important because we are in a transition zone. When we get to 2025 and even more 2026, all the slow moving reality shaping planets, not the ones closest to us, but the more distant ones, they're all moving into the yang signs. We're entering a period of where it's going to be time to take action, to move into new ways of doing things. So these 2 years are vitally important for receiving what our intuition, what our, we get so much information from color, from sound, from what we're feeling, how the breeze touches our skin. It's really an important time to receive, to dream. Our reality gatekeeper planet, Saturn, the Lord of the Rings, he's in Pisces for most of the next 3 years. We are, old realities are dissolving
Mm.
all around us. It's very important now to stay connected to our dreaming wisdom and to let ourselves dream, not of, you know, the things we want to have, but the world we want to live in, the people that we want to become, the qualities in ourselves that we want to allow to go to new levels, so we can really feel our oneness with all of life and with the whole cosmos.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And that is the intention behind Spiritual Quest. So you just, I feel like this is divinely guided. This is right on time. And like I said, I never know where this is going to take me, the topics, how long I'm going to do this for. I'm on this journey and I'm just tuning and listening and knowing now what you just shared and it resonating in that deep core um, inside me. This is a really a good, exciting time for us. And
Oh,
I have
yeah.
so much hope for humanity that we are able to move through whatever is going. We can lift each other, we can reunite into higher frequencies, unite into love, and shift and transform and create a more compassionate and loving world. I'm certain of it. We can do it. And now we
Yes.
know the stars are right there with us, helping
And
us.
I think one of the things that Sedna shows us, you know, like in her journey, she didn't make it happen. She allowed it to happen. You know, we we can't, and it just when it seemed the worst was happening, that's when the miracle happened, you know?
Yes.
So I don't think we should be too um we can't judge things by the way they are right now. Everything's shifting. Everything's changing.
Yes. And if you can have
And
that
you
experience. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Marcia.
just going to say with that Leo, the sign of our star, our one star on your midheaven, you are here to shine your star brightly, to be the shining star. And this is the time to shine bright.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. I feel so blessed for this conversation today. And before we end, Marcia, like I said, I could talk to you for hours. This is so amazing and interesting. But is there anything you would like to share or any words of inspiration for the audience before we say goodbye?
I guess I would only say that I know these times are, they're intense. They're uncertain, but we are all held. Not only held, we are part of this incomprehensibly beautiful, powerful, transformative universe. We're not separate from it. We don't have to do it all by ourselves. Really, we just need to tune into the mystery that made us. It's inside of us. We're never separated from it.
Yes, that's so true. Thank you so much, Marcia, for this inspiring
You,
conversation.
Jessica, I loved being here with you.
And not only that, thank you for, gifting me a short mini reading if you wish. And do you offer birth chart readings?
I do. I offer
Yes.
birth chart readings. I offer all also readings, relationship readings. I do consultations about best times to do certain things, make a move. There's also a way you can look at the most powerful places on the planet to live or even to visit places where um, your relationship with yourself can really change. It can, where being there can change your lives. I do those as well. So I'm kind
Mm,
of a full service, but I really specialize in the growing edge of what we're learning about our universe because this is such an evolutionary time. So I'm really always focusing on what's the evolutionary edge of each person who comes to me for a reading.
mm. Very interesting. And I will have to contact you, Marcia, because this is so interesting, and I would love to discover more about this.
I
So
hope you do because I'm feeling like, oh, and I didn't tell her this and I didn't tell her that. I would
I'll
feel
make
much
sure. Yeah, I'll make sure that your contact information is in the episode description. So
ready.
everybody who wants to contact you, they will have your contact information. Okay.
Wonderful. All
Perfect.
right.
And also, if you want to go even deeper and unlock your divine power, then the Spiritual Quest live stream masterclasses is here to serve you who's watching or listening. You can join for free and learn from some of my favorite podcast guests as they teach on their topics, sharing valuable resources in support of your spiritual quest, which we probably need in these times, right? So, to learn more about how you can join us for free, please check out the episode description. And yeah, one more last thing. If these conversations light you up, please share them with the world and leave a review in your favorite podcast app. That would truly make my heart bubble with joy. Thank you again, Marcia. Thank you for
Thank
joining us.
you.
And
Loved
I,
it.
yeah, and I will sending you lots of love and light from me, your host, Vibeke Garnos, and Marcia Wade, always guided by spirit. Bye now.
Bye.